We are back for a third week. No, we are not in Ward 6 at the Chili Chicken joint, but we are taping the Chosen Life podcast. Faison, Jonathan, lawyers at Kormans LLP, and Joe Horneck. Joe Horneck.
How are you?
No, we love you.
Fine. We love you.
Yes, we do. we ripped off James Horneck. His famous Google song.
Well, a famous Google. Why isn't it on YouTube already, right? How is it not a best hit?
Well,
Move over Taylor Swift.
If you get bored one day and you want to go into YouTube or Spotify, type in Chosen Lawyer, and there is a Chosen Lawyer theme song.
Ooh.
I actually have a music producer worked with. He actually did the audiobook for me as well. So I actually have the means to get you James Horneck actually produced. So if you do, we'll talk off air and think about making the song. The London Bridge people might be a little upset about it, but
A little copyright infringement.
Right now.
he actually knows how to change it just enough so it doesn't infringe. He's awesome.
Okay. Well, I was also thinking Chosen Lawyer. I'm thinking like your picture with a halo behind it.
It's the flexing picture from that's a whole different ball game, but it's close the deal. I am the destroyer. I am the chosen lawyer. It's a real song.
Okay.
All right. So it's on that note, we've come from the present and the past. We're now moving into the future, right? It's time to talk about future.
Okay.
And so, Mr. Horneck, when you go to sleep at night, you wake up in the morning, you're all refreshed, ready to revitalize the city and think about we're in 2025 and where things are going. What's your vision for the future? Ward 6, Mississauga. What do you
My flying car initiative will be really, right top of the list, I think. No, I mean, I think
that would actually pull away from the whole gas versus EV debate.
yes.
We just,
Oh no, I'm so beyond that. I want the flying cars, darn it.
but is the flying car going to be by gas or by electric? That's going to start a
Oh,
whole
well,
kerfuffle, right?
Nuclear even.
Or actually,
That's a nice one.
Toyota's got the answer, hydrogen apparently, but
Well, the city has some hydrogen buses. We have 20 hydrogen buses up at the airport. So, we'll see how that experiment works. Part of it has been supply is the challenge on hydrogen. But again, like if things start moving towards a hydrogen, at least maybe we're getting on the leading edge of that. We'll have to see.
Ward 6, the home of the flying car.
Ours.
Oh boy.
Yes.
Oh boy. I think like what is the future of our area? I mean, I think, we talked about in the last podcast about, just more densifying neighborhoods, right? So I mean, I think within the city of Mississauga, we really have concentrations, areas of high towers and things like that. So what does it kind of look like in the future? I mean, that continues because that's the place you're going to put density. But I mean, subtly over a lot of years, you'll maybe start to see a little bit of change in the neighborhoods themselves. And it will be very gradual and it'll be mostly concentrated in the places with very large lots, right? So maybe you see somebody have a very large lot, a very dilapidated house built in the 50s, 60s. And you're like, either I gut the place or I just tear down and I build something fresh. And so slowly over time, you'll start to see that. And that's what happens in every major city, right?
Laneway houses, backyard homes.
Could be.
It's a great way for families to stay together but be apart.
Yeah.
Or even just to be honest, like not that the housing size changes, but just the division of it changes, right? Like you look at a 4-bedroom house with a basement and 2 levels above ground, that could be reconfigured into a townhouse, which is actually split in 2. Or, the first house I ever owned in Montreal was actually a 4-plex, basically. It had 4 front doors, 2 on top, 2 on there, and there were 3-bedroom places. They also had pull-in car garages at the bottom. And that was built in like 1921. So what's new is old, what's old is new, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, and this is one of the most desirable neighborhoods in the country. It was just down the hill from Westmount.
Oh.
But I bought it for a song because it was 2008 and they'd listed it for an entire month and not one person had come to see it. So we bought it for $315,000, which is a joke now, right? Like a 3-bedroom for $315,000.
If we just go back and rewind for a second, people talk about 2025 and they talk about where the economy's at, where the real estate market's at. I could say 2007, 2008, because I had just started a job in December 2007.
Yeah.
And literally the economy came to a grinding halt. The U.S. real estate market was done at that point.
Yep.
And so literally nobody was building in Canada, Ontario. But as a lawyer, I went sometimes days without an email, without a phone call. That doesn't happen now. But like literally when you get no messaging whatsoever, you know everything is at a standstill. And that is terrifying.
It's frightening.
But a great time to buy a property, obviously.
Great time to buy a property. And you know,
and you remember what spring 2008 was like?
oh, yes.
The moon started right up until almost now. Like it was, people were saying, oh, are we going to be like the US? Are we going to go back even further? And we just started going up, 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 up. And, you know, Lord willing, that's where everything's going to go for us now at some point. Yeah.
We can hope so. I always think of 2008 because I was at the pension fund then. And I was the guy, if you remember the movie The Big Short, when those two young guys were calling for the prices. And bonds always price off a price of 100 and a little bit lower than that, right? So, you know, what's the price? 99. What's the price? 99. What's the price? 52. I'm sorry, what? Oh yeah, that AAA rated thing that you thought was awesome. No. That's a pile of garbage. Didn't you know that? So I was on the other end of that, making that call and going, oh my God, 52, we've lost so much money.
Yeah.
And all these pension funds that we were managing at the time, right? Firefighters and nuns. We had the Nuns of New England. We managed their pension fund. They actually sued the company. And I tell you, if you ever get in a lawsuit with a nun, settle. That's my life lesson.
Yes. They got a higher power behind them.
Yeah. But you know, it was a whole different time, right? And you're right, like 2008, such a changing point. I mean, I think like, you know, other things that we're going to see change over time. We talked about this being a city or a suburb. And one of the major things that you'll have with a major city is more transit lines. So will we finally ever, goodness sakes, see a two-way GO train traffic on the Milton line? At some point we gotta. If you electrified that, you could actually run it like a surface subway. You could put in more stations than there are right now. Right? We think of that as a commuter line to Toronto, and we really only think it goes one direction and that's all that needs to happen. But think about it as any old rail line. If you electrify that, if the freight got off it, it could be a surface subway for the city, connecting the entire, it goes right through the middle of the city.
Yeah.
So that could be a major changing point for the city, right? Talk about like what other BRTs are we going to see? Are we going to see any more LRTs, you know, light rail transits after here, Ontario? Yeah. I don't know. You know, I would think that these are the kinds of things you move into a city as it densifies, right?
I gotta ask you the bonus question. It's now coming to my mind. I remember reading this. I was in the States at the time.
Yeah.
And this interview came through. I had never heard about this before, and it blew my mind. You're talking about suburbs versus city.
Mm-hmm.
How realistic was the Mississauga NFL bid? Because there's still talk about Mississauga getting it. That is another level, right?
Yes.
If you could put a football team in Orchard Park, have you ever gone down to Buffalo and watched the Buffalo Bills in that? Mississauga is a different level, right?
I guess the thing I'd say is I don't know where we could fit a stadium of a size to support a
in the air.
Team. In the air. Yeah, of course, the floating stadium. It'll be very revolutionary.
Yes.
Or the subterranean. Yeah, I mean, look, you know, NFL coming to Mississauga, I'm going to say probably not. If they come to Canada, it'll be someplace in Toronto, I'm guessing.
Guys, don't just get overboarded. Cricket could be another option as well.
Cricket's a good
Brampton has taken a lead on that.
Well,
I think cricket would sell better than the NFL, actually.
Probably.
Yeah.
It very well might. Like I had an experience a couple weeks ago where I drove up Terry Fox and there's 3 baseball diamonds.
Yeah.
Bang, 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 3 different parks. And on a Saturday morning, all 3 were being occupied by guys playing cricket. Right? Just messing around, doing their thing.
And we see Ninth Line Matney Park.
Yeah.
Having a cricket ground there.
Yep.
Could be the first of Mississaugas too.
We've got a couple coming in the next few years.
Yeah.
You know, here going back to like city building, the challenge was when we built Mississauga, we made 2 choices that were now challenging to do these kinds of things. So one, we decided every home should have a park, a local park, within about 250 meters of it. Okay. So we built a lot of parks, but they're small.
Yes.
They're just for local consumption.
Right.
When we had a larger park, we basically said we need a baseball diamond and we need a soccer field because that's what everybody wanted at that time. So now, even if I take the soccer field and that baseball diamond and raise them to the ground, it's still not enough for a full cricket field.
That's true, yeah.
Because
you're right.
You can maybe fit a junior cricket field, but if an adult man steps in there, they're going to hit a house.
And it happened at the Huron Heights.
Yeah.
It's so close to the residential buildings.
Mm-hmm. When in law school, in real property law, there's a famous case from England where Lord Denning talked about the cricket field and how it hit a home. Okay. And so the homeowner sued. And Lord Denning began with, cricket is so important to the institution of our society.
That is right.
So you knew where he's going with it. So 1882 is now 2025.
I'll take Lord Denning's verdict on that, Jonathan, any day.
Life lesson for you, right?
That's right.
Faizan, you had some key rapid fire for
Yes.
Joe. Let's start. We got to start 2035. Let's hear him.
Legacy project.
I think we talked about that, the Cullum Trail, and making sure that that trail is the highest quality that we can have. I think that is something that'll be really lasting and will affect a lot of people's lives. I think that'll be a really great thing.
You want to go next one?
We're in 2025. You're going to go fast forward. We're now in the year 2035. It's not flying cars, but what is Mississauga going to look like in 10 years from now?
Well, I just did my kindergarten intake with my little guy, and he won't even be done high school then. But that's kind of a fun thing that just came up recently. What will it look like? I mean, I think it'll be in the downtown area, especially. We'll have more towers. We'll have more towers around our former malls, right? So we've got a whole revitalizing the mall space because a lot of those malls are just gigantic parking lots, right? So putting some density on there, making that more attractive, making it more interactive, revitalizing that. I don't know if you'll see so much in the traditional neighborhoods, a ton of change, because that'll just be very trickling in small amounts. And then I hope you'll see better transit, right? Because if we're adding more people, we need to move them, right? We need to move people, we need to move goods, and we want people home for dinner. And that's really what it is, right? Even if you don't want to ride the bus, someone's going to have to,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's the challenge of the city is, I'm never going to take a bus. I just drive everywhere. Okay, great. But if everyone makes that choice, you aren't driving because you're going to sit in traffic forever. And then in making our roads more intelligent too, right? Like, let's take advantage of new technologies that are out there that can both make sure people are driving responsibly, like we touched on traffic cameras and the penalty side of things, but let's get also people flowing, right? Let's put in some cameras that can read an intersection and change the lights appropriately to move the maximum number of cars.
Themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Without a human sitting there going, I'm going to put the advanced green on now. Oh, now I'm going to take it off over here. Oh, so-and-so's going this way. No, let's put the intelligence into an intersection. And look, you're not going to do that for every single intersection. That would be financially horrid, but you can do it at the big places. If I can move 10 extra cars through this way, and I'm making one guy sit, that's a good decision.
Yep.
Now, the one guy may not like that decision,
Yeah.
but the 10 people who are moving do, right? And so these are the types of things we'll need to do in a major city. And then keeping up our infrastructure, right? Like, no one ever thinks about it, but the pipes underneath the ground, right? We have more rain in Mississauga the last summer than we'd ever had before, ever, right? So 2 events in such close succession that led to a ton of flooding in different places. It was really destructive to some of those neighborhoods that were impacted. Now we're having to input major projects to address those really bad areas, but it's going to be an ongoing problem. I mean, I remember seeing something a number of years ago about climate change and how does it look across North America. And it's basically the West turns into a desert. And every year you see those California wildfires. It's turning into a desert. The counterpoint to that is that moisture is going someplace. It's going to the Great Lakes.
Yeah.
And I'm not a weather specialist, but it feels real now. Something I read a bunch of years ago is feeling very real. And so we're taking a pipe that was this big. Now we're making it this big.
Yeah.
That's expensive.
I feel like we only have 2 seasons now. It's fall and winter pretty much.
Yeah.
There's no spring, there's no
Yeah.
summer. Like, you're sitting in June going into July, and literally, some nights it's single digits.
Well, it was 7 last night.
Yeah. I mean, part of that's going to be about, like, cities in the end can only make a small contribution on reducing carbon footprints. We can decarbonize our bus fleet. Great. That's not ultimately going to solve climate change. So we're in the climate adaptation business. What am I going to have to live with when the rest of the world gets screwed up by other policymakers?
Right.
So the feds and the province don't do enough on their end. Then I need to retrofit my city to survive the outcome of that.
He's reading your mind because that's your next
That's
question.
the next question.
But I knew what his next question was.
I didn't.
Yes,
Okay.
you read it. Well done.
Okay, so we'll just switch then. Where do you envision yourself sitting 10 years down? Especially to the work that you've done now.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself 10 years down?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want this to be my last career. I guess, when we talked about how did I get into politics and stuff, I also kind of made a conscious decision. I didn't want to run for politics before I thought I had something unique to deliver. And so we talked about my financial background, and I felt like I had something to offer that was unique at that point. And I guess I'd say leaving politics, I don't want this to be my last career because I also don't want to be the guy who everyone looks and says, boy, he spent too long. He's too long. He's out of fresh ideas. He's not current with the times. He's resting on his laurels. He's saying we can't change a process because he's the one who instituted it, blah, 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 years ago. And all I hear from him is sad stories about the past that isn't around me anymore. And I'm 30 years old and I look at this old fogey guy and he doesn't reflect me anymore. And if I'm that guy, I hope you guys and many others will tell me, Joe, it's time to go. So yeah, I don't know if it's 10 years from now, if it's when it is, but I don't want this to be my last job. I want to have some other thing in the future. Don't know what that is.
Sticking to city or maybe moving up?
I don't know. I mean, you see what life brings you, you know? I mean, I definitely also know we talked about federal and provincial. Like I have no interest in those levels, partly because of the topics, because I don't feel you can make as much meaningful change if you're not the premier or the prime minister, or at least one of the top 3 or 4 cabinet ministers. Your input is not always needed. Right. At a city level, you can't say that. You know, but we'll see, I guess, what happens. Like, I don't know about those levels. I guess the second side is just, we talked about my family.
Yeah.
If my kids are still in school, I have a lot harder time swallowing not being around. And I know you can manage things, but you're out of town a lot more. It's a lot more stress. And, you know, I think everyone's read those tales of high-performing politicians who end up having messed up families.
That's true.
And the divorce rate at the federal level is something like, 30, 40%. I like my life.
I remember my son being 5, 6, 7, coming home, feeding him dinner, putting him in pajamas, and driving to client appointments and taking him with me. And that's how we spent quality time together in the car.
Yeah.
And they'd always feed him because they felt bad. So he'd have a second dinner when he's at the client's house or at their business. And sometimes you have to improvise, right? There's no choice. Otherwise, it's hard, you know?
Yeah.
I remember you talk about reading stories at night before bed, right?
Yeah.
Read him the story. And I said, okay, it's time for snuggles. And he looked at me and said, you're holding your phone. I said, yeah. He goes, snuggle time means no phone. If you're going to be on your phone, you can leave the room. Goodbye.
Good. So I remember when I was in banking, I still, one of the things I did was I still had charity boards that I was involved in, like Arma House in particular, which is a women's shelter for children and women fleeing domestic violence. I also ran a pro-transit group where we were arguing to the province and to the cities, put more into transit. This is the future. And so I had a lot of meetings that we do with this, and they were always at UTM or some other place. And my oldest son at the time was 3, which my youngest is now. And I'd be like, oh, I'm going to leave you behind with my wife tonight. He's like, no, but I want to go. I want to come to your meeting. I love boring meetings. Like, oh my God, what have I created? I love boring meetings. I mean, he loved the time that we spend.
It was really translation. I love spending time with Dad.
Right.
Yes.
And, he'd bring his cars and we talk about transit and the reports we're going to do and who we're going to talk about, whatever. But yeah, it's funny how you have to mix these things in a lot of times. Now my kids have to come to different events and some are really well received. Like my daughter in particular really loved, there's a Vietnamese and Chinese different groups for New Year's and things like this. And she just was into it.
Yeah.
But then other days, like oil and vinegar just cannot mix.
We had them.
I want to go home. So
we had them at the Eid event.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you did.
And my little one was playing with them all cars.
Yes.
All cars.
They were speaking the same language there in terms of like car love. That was a successful event because they went off and they were playing and the adults could chat.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, balancing family and work.
Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense, especially to growing a small family.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to think about that your careers too, I'm sure, right? Like you think about, do I take on that next major client? If I do, does that mean that I'm not having some free time?
You make the decision. Do you want to be in private practice? Do you want to be in-house? Do I want to be in law? There's so many career choices you make, and that career choice will dictate what your family life is going to look like, certainly, and then the sacrifices depending on where you want to go.
Yeah. In different parts of your life, you make different choices, right? Like when I was in my 20s, like I rose very quickly in my career because I also basically, that was all I did. That was all I did.
Yeah.
And before I had kids, I could make that sacrifice. And once the kids came around, no, I did not want to support that team in India 24/7 and have them calling me at 2 a.m. going, we have a problem. right? So like I gave up that life at 32 because I didn't want to do that aspect of things anymore. And so I made other choices to join other teams, right?
I had a question when it's been pressing on me for these 3 weeks. You brought up boring meetings, so now it's triggered to me. Speaking of boring meetings, municipal, provincial, federal, playing in the sandbox, do they generally play very nice, or what is the dynamic like generally as far as getting things done from all different levels? It's tricky, eh?
It is tricky. I mean, so everybody has, I think the interesting part is when other people start to play in other people's sandboxes sometimes, right? Like I always think we talked about earlier about the provincial changes on housing and how there was no consultation. Nobody came to Mississauga from the provincial government and said, please tell us 2 or 3 things that you think will accelerate housing.
Yeah.
Oh, no. We know best. We're going to tell you. So the joke in politics is always that the feds have the most money, the province has the most responsibility, and the municipalities are the ones that actually have to do everything, right? And on the tax dollar side, we get less than 10 cents on every dollar to actually do all those things we deliver: fire, police, roads, water,
Safety,
libraries,
yep.
safety, parks, programs.
Can't we just make it that when somebody files their taxes,
Yeah.
you see the tax amount owing, and then there's a box, where would you like your dollars allocated? And, right?
Well, I'd win every time with that one, I think. Honestly, right?
Yeah.
'Cause, I mean, unless you're
It'd be
sick-
100% municipal, 0 federal.
Well, and think about that. Like, I mean, I have sympathy for those other levels because unless you have a kid, you probably don't care a ton about education. Unless you're sick or have a relative who's sick, you're not really thinking about the local hospital.
Right.
No one thinks about national defense until it kicks you in the face. And you can say that about a lot of those other issues that the federal and provincial have to do. I mean, I think you asked about like, do we kind of get along? Sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. Sometimes we deliberately take kicks at each other. I mean, although I'd say the municipality taking kicks at the other levels doesn't work out well because we have smaller shoes. But like a lot of these complex issues never have one level of government to answer it, right? So we talked about housing as a great one for you guys to talk about, but like I can't do it without the Fed coming in sometimes and helping me out on a major transit project. It's unaffordable for me to do a lot of the major transit projects without the Fed or the province, but I still got to deliver it. On housing, like the federal government now is in a bit of the housing business after an absence of decades, and they're starting to give money to cities in different ways, but it's always on their conditions. It's never a carte blanche. So, I mean, I think the other thing we have is we get transit dollars for buses. Great. Go buy the bus, Joe. But who's going to pay for the bus driver for the next 20 years?
Yeah.
I am. My tax base is. So you help me buy the capital, but where's the operating dollars? Now we're getting really banking.
Like even
Operating in capital.
traffic congestion, like you think about it, I drive through a lot of Mississauga, and different points of time, it can be challenging.
Yeah.
Imagine a world where the 407 was owned provincially, was free. I think the 401 would look a lot different
Oh,
today.
yeah.
It would.
Sure.
Yeah, you drive 5 o'clock p.m. anytime on anywhere in the 401 versus the 407, night and day.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's one of the counter arguments you've had to, do we need a new highway? Do we need to bury the 401? But yet we have an unutilized 407 where literally a plane was landed once when it was in distress and it didn't hit a car.
Yeah.
My goodness, does that tell you got some room to spare? Like even, one of the, I think NDP or the Liberals or both have said, why don't we purchase so much capacity there and send all the trucks up there to the 407? Just have them go around Toronto that way. Maybe it's a better idea, right? But
Got to come up with creative solutions to this for
Yeah.
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, but it's funny because that's where a classic example, different levels, but depending on what decision one level makes can affect the other levels.
Exactly.
And I think the other thing you have to think about too on the municipal side is, you definitely have some people in the municipality because we don't run under parties. And the first question a lot of people ask me at the door is, well, are you liberal, conservative? Oh, you're dressed in blue. You must be a conservative. I hate you. Or I love you. And you're like, that's first off messed up, because on a municipal level, like it's just the party of Joe. Membership won,
Yeah.
right? Like
Ward 6 councillor.
what does that mean, right? Like, so the hardest thing is as a non-incumbent is, what is a Joe? I don't know. And there's no filtering mechanism on the ballot. So there's people who are ludicrous on there. And there's also people who are very rational on there. How do you communicate out when no one knows what a Joe is, that you're a rational person? And that's a real challenge. And that's why it takes multiple times for somebody to be successful municipally. But once you're there, it's incredibly hard to make a different choice because of those same barriers for whoever's coming behind you, right? And then I think that's also the challenge for municipalities and municipal politicians for, look, today it's Premier Ford. Some other day it'll be Premier somebody else. Prime Minister Carney, Prime Minister Trudeau. If I'm attached and I'm best friends to one or the other thing, but the wind blows the other way.
Right.
So, you kind of have to be friends with all and enemies to none. At least that's my philosophy, right? So the recent federal and provincial elections, I went to anything that they invited me to, and I endorsed none of them, right?
As long as it works for Mississauga Ward 6.
Well, and this is it too, especially in a city like this where we do flow with majority governments, right? Maybe if you were in a different city with a different political background that was more stable, you could make that attachment. But in a city like this where our population really can go red or blue primarily, you can't just attach yourself to one side, I feel.
For people living in Ward 6 that want to get in touch with you, Joe, how do they connect with you? What's the best way for them to get involved with politics? What do you recommend?
I mean, we have a great website. My staff do a really good job of making a lot of really, things that have real detail to them to explain things, right? Especially in things like the budget that is very complex. Always reach out by phone or email to us, Joe Horneck at Mississauga.ca. I am on every platform. I think it's 11 or 12 or 13 different platforms.
Socials now.
Socials are just
Not only fans, but
Not only
fans. No, but everybody has Twitter.
not only
Or Zed or X, Zed.
He was a radio jockey. He has fans from that age as well.
yeah, I did that for a short period of time too.
Nice.
That was kind of fun. But yeah, I'm on every platform almost that you can name, right? Blue Sky, Mammoth, Twitter, X, Facebook, YouTube,
Insta.
Instagram, LinkedIn,
TikTok?
Snapchat?
TikTok's the only one I won't do. I don't want my phone taken over by the form of government.
And I gotta say, if you're lucky enough to get an appointment with Joe Horneck in his office, they have some great suites over here. So
Yeah.
the staff knows how to make people smile and happy. So
I love bringing in people to the office, honestly. I want people to feel like City Hall is a place they can come. I took you guys on a quick little tour, which is the same kind of thing I do with the kids who come in here too, right? City Hall should be a building that inherently people feel like they can come to. And I love out the window here, Celebration Square,
And
where you can have festivals and skating.
Waterfront office?
Yes, a waterfront office.
he has a waterfront view. It's incredible.
Looking out down to the splash pad,
Yeah.
And I love that. It's one of my favorite things is you see the humanity of people out there every day with their kids having fun at festivals that represent the diversity of the city. I love that my kids can go to a school and people of all different backgrounds are there. They come home with things that I never would have myself known at that age, right? And I think that's fantastic.
Man, he's been fabulous. This has been Mr. Joe Horneck, Ward 6 City Councilor. As we're ending today's episode, Joe, words of inspiration for Ward 6 and for generally people that, hope looking to the future. What message do you want to send today?
Well, I think, the main thing I'd say is, look, the city governs the things that are most in front of you all the time. Reach out to us and actually tell us what the problems are. I always say 20 people can see a problem on a street, pothole, dead tree, problematic house that's not keeping up themselves. But if nobody actually calls and tells me about it, how am I to know that? I drive around all the time and I'll say, oh, this is wrong, that's wrong. And I text back to my staff, but I'm not everywhere. So if you see something in your park, your library that you want changed, reach out to us. We're very approachable and I'm very happy to work on this kind of stuff. Can't solve every problem, but the vast majority of problems that come through the office are very easy to solve. Things like a dead tree, things like a pothole, we can fix that very easily. And if you're taking your afternoon walk and every day something's irritating you, just reach out.
Well, we call this the Chosen Life podcast for a reason. Joe Horneck living his chosen life. And may that inspire people for future that want to get into politics, want to get involved. Starts with that phone call, come to see the office, and you never know where it goes from there.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll see you all back real soon. Thank you, Joe, for your time.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.